Okay, here we are. This is Steve Coleman at Buckhorn Creek Ranch. This is March 23rd, 2021, and you are looking at a freshly cleaned Khaki Campbell male duck from our flock. And we're fixing to try to make it into food. We have cleaned it, plucked it, used a small hand torch to sear the pin feathers off, and this is what she looks like, or he looks like. Okay, this duck was killed out in the field, hung up for 24 hours in a little shed that we have out there. It was not freezing, it was just chilly, like 50 or 40 degrees at night, and then it was plucked and cleaned. First thing, this is the layer of fat that ducks have. See that? They got a very thick layer of fat. Look how that ends right there. And this fat, if you want that fat to get crispy, you have to make little holes in it so that when you put it in the oven, the fat will ooze out. Otherwise, you'll have a thick layer of fat that has not gotten crispy. Now some people take a knife and do it like this. How do you do it over here? There's several ways of doing it, and they make slits on it like that. That's another method right there. We'll do it both ways. Be a little experiment, which one works the best. Now when the fat renders out of that thick layer, it will have a way to escape and ooze out, and the duck fat will get crispy on top. Okay, so the other side, and there's a lot of fat down here, down in here too. We can get that cut a little bit too, so the fat will have a way to escape. Okay. I've also heard this one over here. I'm going to do it this way. Hope I don't stick myself. And you can't probably see the little holes, but the little holes are there. And the fat should come out right there. Alright, now we are going to get set up, and we're going to try to pan sear this duck breast a little bit in a frying pan, and then we'll put it in the oven. And that further makes the breast crispy, and that duck fat is very, very tasty. Okay, we're rubbing this guy down with olive oil a little bit all over, and I've also put olive oil in there. And now we're going to try to pan sear the fatty part right here. I haven't done this before. I've just put them in the oven and baked them, but I have seen some videos where they recommended it. I'm going to just test it. Whoa. Okay, I guess that was too hot. Okay, I thought I had that thing turned down a little bit. Let me let that cool off a little bit, and we'll get back to you in a minute after we get back from the emergency room. Okay, I have turned the fire down a little bit, or the heat down, and I got it on about 5 on here, and I'm going to try to sear it actually around and about the duck, different places, and see that, even on the back it might be good to have a little bit of that going on. But now I've got it over on that. It lays nicely flat on that side of the breast, the part that I cut with the knife. And it's sizzling a little bit. We don't want to go crazy with it, but We're gonna pan sear it. I see it's beginning to sear a little bit. And oh, I put olive oil in the, I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit. I think that must have been water that dripped off on there that made that thing splatter. I should have dripped it, picked it up and let it drip a little bit. That was water that splattered. And okay. Okay, we're gonna turn the camera off again. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's this side's been laying there for a couple of minutes. It's beginning to get a little brown and a little hard, and that's beginning to sear. And this side over here is the one we finally had to resort to a little bit of putting the lid on because it was popping so much. But let me tell you something. That was my fault because I didn't dry this duck. I should have dried that duck inside, dripped it, and made sure there was no water in there. And that's what all that popping's all about. So basically, you got to dry your duck before you put him in hot oil. I skipped a step, and we learned the hard way. So you got to see why you need to do that so that you won't make that same mistake. Alright, we are now we've preset the oven to 400. I think you can go 450 too, but I just put it on 400. I've had success with that. Now let me tell you something about this duck is a Khaki Campbell male. This is not, I had him on his back for a little while. Now, he'll either lay on his back or one side of his rib. This is not one of your big old Peking ducks that weighs 15 pounds. These are fairly small ducks. You can overcook this guy real easy. I've done it. And so when you look it up online, it'll say 2 hours or something like that. 45 minutes is probably going to handle this. So you definitely don't want to overcook it. And I'll show you a trick that will help. You definitely don't want it not done. But you know, the biggest problem is around the legs. So there's a little trick you can do before you put it in the oven, and that is to cut down right there and separate that leg a little bit right there. I don't know why that won't cut. Now, you have separated that, you see there? Now heat can get in there. And we'll do the same thing over here. We will cut down, separate this leg so that the thing will get cooked. We don't want to leave it in there too long. You see this right here is, of course it hasn't, this right here, you see, that piece of meat, you want that to cook. Same thing here. Okay, now, that's my little trick. Now you see that's seared. Okay, the wings, not much of a problem. They're awfully small. So now, we are going to put this duck on this baking pan. And then we're going to put him, and I oiled this a little bit too with some olive oil. We're going to probably throw a little bit of salt on this duck. I think that'll be good. And it smells like a duck. They have a smell. Now we're going to get our timer. This, you may as well say 11 o'clock is what it is. Okay, it's 11 o'clock.
Cancel. No, I'm sorry.
All right, we're gonna give this duck, it's preheated, and we're gonna give him 30 minutes in there, and then we're gonna check it. Like I said, you can easily overcook a small duck like this, and then it becomes quite tough. You might as well say almost like jerky. So that's where we're at. We'll check with you in 30 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, we have just pulled this duck out. That was 30 minutes. It was actually about 28 minutes. And we're going to try to make some sense of it. Now I am going to cut, this is just me, I'm going to try to remove the leg, and that'll give me an idea of what's going on. Say, this ain't a real big duck. Whoops, it doesn't want to come off. Come on, leg. Now we can see down in there that this is still a little reddish down in here. Now duck meat will be reddish, but I'm trying to determine if it's done or not. There's a good look at it right there. Now, it's still got a good bit of watery down in there. Now, I'm quite sure these wings are done. I don't want to cut into the breast. Like I said, I definitely don't want to overcook this baby. I will cut into the back a little bit. We know that's done because there's very little meat on it. I think I have a feeling that this duck is, whoops, I can't tell. Like I said, the legs are the hard part to get done. I'm just examining it, trying to determine. Oops, come on, ducky. Okay, I'm going to give him about 15 more minutes. Now see, that I haven't been cooking him but 30 minutes. About 32 minutes. So we're going to give him a little bit more. We're going to give him about 15 more minutes. And it is 11:38 right now. 15 minutes would be 48:58, right?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially 12
12
o'clock.
o'clock, yeah.
I'm gonna cook it until 12. Okay, get back with you. All right, this guy has been cooked 30 minutes, and then I took it out and I cut the legs away a little bit from the body, and then I put it back in there and gave it 15 more minutes. This thing has cooked a total of about 55 minutes, okay? Less than an hour. And it's a pretty small little fellow, okay? This is, you see, you got your, what did I call that? Your crispy skin. And over on the other side where we did the knife cuts, turn it around, you see all the, it's become this right here. Okay, now I have found that this kind of stuff is going to be better. You got to let it cool off some. Warm meat, one thing, it's hard to cut. But what we're going to do is we're going to put this guy on a plate and we're going to let him cool off. There's no more water in the cavity. It's quite dry in there. Now I'm going to tell you another thing. This is akin to wild game. This is not a flavor that people are really used to. A lot of people, maybe if you're growing up in the Orient or something like that, but this is not a hamburger that you're used to. This is the rule about this. If you ask me, this is my opinion. You should never eat a food like this that you haven't been used to unless you're very hungry. You don't ever want to eat something like this that you're not used to if you're not hungry. Now you can eat something that you're used to when you're not hungry because you're used to it. So what we're going to do, and this is another test right here, what we're going to do, see how easy that leg moves around? That's another test for whether it's done or not. I'm not going to eat any of this until I get hungry. Okay, it's 12 o'clock. I haven't had anything to eat. And I don't usually eat in the morning anyway, but I don't feel like tearing into this anyway. I'm not that hungry. I could probably eat something that I'm used to, no trouble. Right now, it's 12 o'clock, 12:03. But this guy's going to sit here and cool off. And I'm not going to tear into that and give it a test until I'm hungry. Now that might be this evening. It's possible it'll be tomorrow. Everything tastes better when you're really hungry, and that's a good rule anyway. Don't eat if you're not hungry. And we're also going to take this to my son and daughter-in-law. They're down there, and we're going to take some of this to them and let them try it. But this is food. This is a duck. It's not one of the Peking ducks that have been bred for eating, which are about 4 or 5 times as big as this. But this will serve as food. And I bet you if I'm good and hungry, I bet you it'll taste good. Now I have a problem with when I dress an animal out, a deer or whatever, or chicken or whatever, and you naturally get your hands down there into the guts and all that, and that has a smell to it, even if you're very careful, and that kind of turns me off. But right now, I'm going to try to smell. I smell a tiny bit of the kind of wildish kind of smell down in there, but it's very faint. And I believe by the time I get good and hungry, I'm going to eat that about like I'd eat a bowl of ice cream. All right, well, we'll get back with you when we're going to eat it and let you know what we think of it. But I'm just about going to predict that that is going to serve as food and keep starvation from coming. All right, signing off.
Okay.
All right, there was a little bit of duck grease down in there and a little bit of drippings and all. What we do with this is we add a little water to it. You got to clean the pan out anyway. No soap, no nothing. And let that water get all that stuff on there. And here, this pan here had olive oil left in it from the pan searing. We pour that together and it cleans your pan. You don't have to pour this down your sink now. This goes on top of the dog food, the dry dog food. We save this and make a little with the water and the grease, and that pours on top of the dry dog food, and that gives the dogs some extra flavor, which they love, and also ups their fat content of their food, which is really good for them. So then you don't have to pour the grease down the drain pipe. Now if there was a lot of grease in here, I would save that for cooking, but there really wasn't all that much duck grease came out of that duck. So there we go. One of these days we're going to get a frying pan that's got 2 handles instead of just one. This handle fell off about 30 years ago, and so we just got one handle. All right, that will be poured into a I did turn it off, didn't
No,
I?
I turned it off.
That
That's
will
why I
be
was getting the pan out.
that will be poured into a jar and used to dress the dog food. Waste not, want not. Somebody said that. All right, signing off. All right, here we are. The next day, we have cooked this duck, took it out, let it cool, put it in the refrigerator overnight. I never did eat any yesterday. I never got hungry for it, and got out to the golf course and never ate the duck at all. But here it is, and we're going to do a taste test on it now. The good thing about having one in the refrigerator is the meat is easy then to cut. Now this is the leg, the drumstick we tore off here, and I've got my little trusty pocket knife. I'll cut off a piece of that. You don't normally would cut them, but I just wanted to see what it looked like. It's kind of got a reddish look. That's good. And the skin got a brownish look. Now I'll tell you this too. Now when this duck we first put it in the oven. Remember I told you that whenever you clean an animal, you're going to get some smells on your hand that come from the gut cavity. That's just the way it is, you know. And to me, when I get those smells on my hand and I smell it, it kind of turns me off to that's just me. In other words, if somebody else cleaned it, I wouldn't have had to. But, and there was a very slight smell in the gut cavity when we put it in the oven, which is expected. Now, I'm going to try it now. And I smell nothing now. This smells like a nice piece of meat right here. Okay, I am going to put a little tiny bit of salt on here, because I like a little salt on my meat. And I'm going to let my cameraman, Debbie, test this while she's filming and give an opinion of how it tastes. And this is a piece that's got skin and meat on it. Alright. She's going to work on that a minute. And then I'm going to test a piece right now. And you see there's not a huge amount. Remember, this is a Khaki Campbell duck. This is not a meat duck like a Peking duck that's been bred. Okay? And taste a little bit of chewing. I'm almost 70 and I got pretty decent teeth. I'm not having any trouble. Try another piece right here, just pure meat. Alright, Debbie, what do you think?
I think it's good. It's dark meat.
Do you taste any wildness or any
No,
bad
it just-
taste?
No, there's no bad taste to it.
It could be a chicken, couldn't it?
Yeah. It's a little.
It's dense.
Yeah, that's the word, dense. Yeah. Other than that, it's great.
Would you taste another piece?
Sure.
Prove it? I'll put it in for you.
Thanks. Yeah.
And I'm going to taste another piece right here. A little salt. There's no skin on that one.
Oh, good.
Okay, good. Chew that one, really taste it good. That's delicious.
Yeah.
That is delicious. Okay, well I showed you what we could do with it. It's not a great deal of food, but if you were hungry on a small duck like this is a full-grown Khaki Campbell male duck. We haven't got into that's where most of the meat is. We haven't got into there. But I'm saving this for Bob and Bessie because it's so good that I really want them to taste it. Remember, that duck was killed and hung up in a shed outside. I mean, the shed was outside. I guess the shed would be outside. Hung it up for 24 hours, and it was not freezing temperatures. And then the feathers were pulled off without dipping it in water, in hot water. And they come off easier that way. That's a 100% success right there. We'll do one little other test right here. We'll get a little piece of this skin off the back. Would you like to eat a piece of skin?
Sure.
Just to see. And the skin didn't get pan seared very good like the breast did. Let's
It's
see.
more chewy. Yeah. It's like skin on a chicken.
Alright. This is Steve Coleman, Buckhorn Creek Ranch, March the 24th, 2021. And we're gonna knock off right now, and I got to go out into the garden and do another video about using scrap boards in the garden. So we'll get in there and try to post this. Signing off.